Hello, good morning. I'm Red Feather Free. Today's video is going to be about communication, logic, and the failings or the insanity of our modern system of communication and logic and science. Some 2,400 years ago, roughly, what I consider to be true logic, relativistic logic, if you will, was founded by Socrates. Socrates was a philosopher who's famous for quoting or saying, I know nothing." And he technically didn't write anything on his own. It all comes through us from his students such as Plato and Xenophon and Antisthenes and some others as well. Aristophanes, published on Socrates. He's a very well-known philosopher in Athens. Well, his statement, I know nothing, was very, very profound and had deep implications for logic that wouldn't be grasped fully until the likes of Godel. Now, however, shortly after Socrates and Plato, well, the student of Plato was Aristotle, the great man. Aristotle founded the modern system of logic as we know it, and he combined it with grammar. And anyone that's taken a logic course knows that logic fundamentally is nothing more than a language. And you begin any logic test, experiment, what have you, problem by defining something known as your universe of discourse. And this is defining the terms, the semantic meaning of the symbols that you're going to be using in your language, because it's known as formal or symbolic logic. So it's just a language that uses abstract symbols to convey information from one person to another, to set up arguments, if you will, to originally try and prove or disprove something about the objective nature of reality. Logic is the language of science, if you will, because it's rigorous and technically it's repeatable. However, this language of science that was so sure of itself for so many thousands of years, ever since Aristotle, well, its foundations were completely and totally smashed to bits by the philosophical hammer that Kurt Godel was carrying when he said the famous statement, "This sentence is false," proclaiming what's known as the liar's paradox, which is the same type of paradox. It's the same realization as Socrates knowing he knows nothing. See, because in logic, every sentence, every bit of information that's conveyed completely has either a true, a t value, or an f value, a false value. So it either has one value or the other. Simple as that. It's either telling you something, the information either contained inside it is consistent, meaning it's ordered correctly via the syntax, the words and the symbols are arranged appropriately, and then that the semantics, as you've previously defined when you began, the words mean certain things, so you take the consistency and you put it together, and then you get an overall false statement, or it's a paradox. This sentence is false. Semantically, it's correct. There's nothing wrong with the sentence. Semantically, you define your terms, sentence, false, this is, it's easy enough. However, the condition that the overall sentence fits has to be true. You see, because it's not inconsistent syntactically. All the symbols are arranged appropriately, so therefore it's a consistent sentence. So the information it's conveying to you in logic would be true. However, it's telling you that it's false. So if it's true and it's false, it's both at the same time. This is the end of Aristotelian logic, the beginning of relativity. Einstein, with E equals mc squared, understood that all is truly relative to the individual observer. The best possible way that I can explain this is the universe being like a sphere, and consciousness, the individual consciousness, the self-consciousness, diffused throughout the entire sphere, if you will, as the whole, but the individual, looking at any other point within the sphere, has a unique perception and perspective of that point. Now, if you take another point and you bring it adjacent to that point of observation and look at the point that the point of observation was observing, no matter how closely that you align that other point with the original one, the point of view, the perception, will never be exactly the same unless you make the original, or the secondary point, match exactly and precisely the point of the original one. Hence the old adage, don't judge someone until you've walked a mile in their shoes, because you cannot know how their reality looks to them, how they see reality, what they define their words as, what the neurobiological response is in their brain to certain words like love or charity or faith or hope. Alfred Korzybski was the father of modern semantics, as we understand it, non-Aristotelian semantics. And Korzybski said that our language has created and made an insane culture. And he's right. It is insane. Because there's no standardization, yet people go around assuming that there's a standardization, and then they bludgeon other people when the actual reality confronts itself. When they go around with their preconceived notions of what all these definitions and all what the words mean in a fixed state, in a fixed way, in a classical Newtonian sense, and then all the other contradictory opinions or perceptions they seek to eradicate. Yes. Well, too late. They let the cat out of the bag with the internet and the access to all the books and all the knowledge of the past. No longer are the masses to be kept ignorant and in the dark, seething and brewing cauldrons of hatred to be thrown at each other and used by the powers that were, as it is. May light and knowledge and wisdom dispel all of those things, and hatred to be dissolved, and love to be evolved. Peace.